Ridley Scott. Oh, Ridley. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Hey, it's Adam. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about the latest feature film from Sir Ridley Scott himself, starring Jacob Elordi, Margaret Qualley, Guy Pearce, and Josh Brolin. That movie is The Dog Stars. The Dog Stars is an adaptation of the 2012 post-apocalyptic novel by Peter Heller, and it is set in the future after a devastating flu pandemic wipes out a lot of humanity, and the film centers on Hig, played by Jacob Elordi. He is a former mechanic and a civilian pilot, and Bangley, played by Josh Brolin. He's a hardened former Marine, as they confront outside threats and hold on to the possibility of better life beyond where they currently live. I found this movie to be incredibly frustrating because it feels like it is borrowing from a lot of other post-apocalyptic stories in that genre. And I know it's an adaptation of a novel, but it sort of feels like a Frankenstein of a lot of familiar post-apocalyptic story beats. But it's not doing any of those story beats better than the things it's borrowing from. It's not doing them in a more interesting way, a more dynamic way, or like a new way. But it is very well made. I don't think anybody's arguing whether or not Ridley Scott is like a good director. I think he has a great eye. I think he knows how to put a captivating image on the screen. And here we get these really beautiful sweeping shots of like the landscape that is now kind of undisturbed thanks to the fact that humanity is gone. It's lush, it's green. There is like this macabre sense to it given that it is apocalyptic, but it's not soulless. He's also really good at capturing some of these more dynamic sequences when we get into kind of action-y territory. There's one sequence in particular that utilizes some night vision lenses, and I thought that was really interesting and captivating and exciting. So there is like life to be had in this film. There is some energy behind the camera. Unfortunately, I find the story itself to be a bit soulless. This screenplay is very clunky, it is very flat, and feels kind of hollow. I think the first thing is just like going from beat to beat, from scene to scene, the transitions, the scenes themselves, it feels abrupt. There are moments where we're jumping to like the next scene and it is a little jarring. There are some very crucial scenes that we are like building toward the whole movie that are really rushed and sped through. It also ends like 4 different times. I also found the dialogue to be quite heavy-handed. Like there are scenes where the characters might as well have looked into the camera and told us the theme. We are like very much laying it on thick and telling the audience exactly what we're supposed to be taking away from this movie and what we're supposed to be thinking and feeling. And I think that's also frustrating, not only because it's heavy-handed, but because there are other themes that we're examining that are much more interesting than the ones it's like pushing us toward. I think the film gets really interesting when we're kind of pondering the point of survival. You know, we're really grappling with this idea of like, yes, I survived and yes, I am still here, but like, what is the purpose now? Like, what is making this worth it? I loved like these moments of like guilt and like the kind of things you have to do to survive in this kind of environment. I think those are all interesting. Unfortunately, though, we don't explore any of that really meaningfully or deeply, and the characters are just flat. I will get more into the performances in a second, but I just think there's not a lot for them to chew on. Specifically, Jacob Elordi and Margaret Qualley have great presence, right? They know how to command a scene. They are captivating to watch, and I think Jacob Elordi is bringing this soulfulness to this role, but there's nothing for them to really sink their teeth into. There's nothing to really grasp onto. These are very hollow characters. Margaret Qualley in particular, she comes into the picture and she brings like a breath of fresh air. She's really fun to watch at first, but that character quickly devolves into just being woman. She is simply there to be the woman. There is a moment where a character asks her flat out, like, do you talk at all? And she goes, sometimes, and it felt almost like a commentary on the character. She is just kind of there, and that is frustrating. Diving a bit more into the performances, I think Jacob Elordi has what it takes to be like a leading man. This is a very like internal phenomenal solitary performance. And I think he does a great job with what he is given. I think it is so captivating to watch him. He is magnetic. He knows how to pull you in. And I think he is doing a great job with a character that isn't quick to wear his feelings on his sleeves, but when it like bubbles up, it's beautiful. It's really strong performance wise. I love him in the lighter moments too, like with the dog, with Margaret Qualley. There are these moments where he lets himself light up, and I think that is really well done. Margaret Qualley, I spoke on already. Very charming, has nothing to do, is just kind of there. It's really unfortunate because I love Margaret Qualley. Josh Brolin is fun. He's kind of the most levity we get out of a character, but again, he's just kind of a stock character. Guy Pearce is really good, but the first half of his screen time, he feels like he's in a completely different movie. Allison Janney is also in this, giving kind of a bizarre performance. I feel like her voice was modulated a little bit. That was weird. It kind of feels like she's channeling like a boy and his dog, which brings me back to the earlier point of like, it feels like it's borrowing from a lot of these movies and not doing them justice, and she's very much giving that. If you know that movie, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's just very bizarre and really a big bummer because this is such a talented cast. This is such a star-studded cast, and not a soul is given anything like meaty to chew on. I think this movie wants to say a lot about community and like, oh, we do need to open ourselves up. Like, fear is our enemy, and the only way we're gonna overcome these hard times is by leaning on each other. And it's saying that with like a very heavy hand. As I've said, it kind of just becomes like a nothing burger. There's nothing really interesting going on. It's very surface level exploration. The story just meanders. I was really like bored with this. This is kind of just dull. It feels like very hollow. I gave this 2.5 stars. I wanted to like it. I'm really bummed that I didn't. I always want the best for Jacob, Margaret, and all involved, but what can you do? They can't all be hits. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you do all the things you're supposed to do with the YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe, share, follow me everywhere, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.